Isaac, really appreciate the time today. Good to talk to you about a lot of different things. I'll get to some football, so I don't get fired. I don't have my listeners yelling at me since you're the newest Ole Miss Rebel as of us taping this here on Wednesday morning. But dude, I got excited for you. I heard about your podcast last week. Started looking you up a little bit. I go to YouTube and I see pretty good numbers everywhere. Looking through, and then I stumble on this one video. You got Kendall from Dance Moms on the podcast. As of this morning, 156,000 views on YouTube
Yeah.
for that thing. I need to start here, bud. I'm gonna ask you about your podcast. But when you do a video like that, how did that interview sort of come about? And then when do you start noticing YouTube and seeing the way that that's kind of going viral for you there?
So it came about because Kendall goes to JMU. She's on the JMU dance team, and Julio was actually Julio, the guy I'd be doing the podcast with. He actually knew her from around school. Like they were friends. They knew each other. So I just asked him. I was like, "Yo, you think you can get her to come on to the podcast?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." And then so he asked her, and she said she was excited to come and do it. So that's really how it came about. And then I had a feeling it would go viral because of the amount of followers she had on Instagram and how popular Dance Moms was, but I didn't know it was gonna go like to this degree. I was thinking more like maybe like 20,000 views or something like that. But then when YouTube just kept pushing it, I was just seeing the numbers go up and up, and I was pleasantly surprised, of course. But yeah, it was really cool having her on.
Did you catch yourself kind of checking every 30 minutes or an hour? I mean, how much were you following that thing while it was taking off? Because I think I'd have been just kind of refreshing every few minutes there for a while.
Yeah, that's exactly how I was. I was refreshing like every couple minutes. I was checking it back every hour. I was looking at it and it was going up like 5,000 views. I was like, wow, this is because I'd never had a video do anything like that before in those types of numbers. So it was definitely checking up on it frequently.
Did you have her as kind of a big fish peg for a while? I mean, was that one where you thought for a little bit, hey, if we get to her, or when to ask Julio to do it? I mean, how long before it actually aired did she kind of cross your mind as a potential guest?
Honestly, I would say I thought about it in the past, but I never asked like Julio to get in contact with her. I just thought I was when I was going through people that might be interesting on campus to be able to bring on, because obviously I can't fly people out from all different types of areas. So I was just trying to think who around us would be someone that some people would like to know more about or see get interviewed. But in terms of when we asked her to when we did it, we asked her basically like the week before we did it, and she was just like, "Yeah, sure." We like to work around other people's schedules, so whenever she was free, that's when we were able to just go and knock it out in like an hour and then get out.
So in this iteration of your show, it's all scheduled. You can find it on YouTube. I'll put all the links in this episode as well. You guys are a few, like I said, a little over 20 episodes. You've been going for a while, but this thing, I went through your YouTube page. You had one called IML about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years
Hmm.
ago. Had one
Yeah.
episode. I think you said that is Isaac means laughter. What made you even kind of start the video process, the podcast space? What do you like about it? I mean, what went into it to even make this maybe what started out as a hobby, but maybe is something you continue to do for a while?
Yeah, I think the main thing was I really enjoyed talking to people, and I really enjoyed the conversations we would have with like my teammates in the locker room and conversations I would have with people just in life in general. And I thought it would be nice to be able to have that on camera and use that and combine that with the love I have for editing and being creative and creating videos and being able to combine those two into something that I actually have fun doing. I thought that would be really cool. So that's where the initial motivation to start the podcast was. My initial, like the first, you talked about IML, those were like the first couple times I recorded with some of my teammates. And yeah, at first, when I first did it, obviously the quality was a lot worse back then and all that stuff because it was my beginning times. I didn't have mics, I didn't have anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually using one of my teammates' GoPros to record that video. So, um, but I just had a great time doing that. So I just thought, yeah, that's something I definitely could see myself doing in the future. And during football and after football is done.
Yeah, dude, whatever you got going, it was much better than we started. I got 10, 11, 12 years ago, we started with this platform called TalkShoe. You probably never heard of it. And when you hit the button, you could only record inside this browser. So you couldn't edit it or anything. You'd hit the start button. And when it came on, it would go TalkShoe recorded live. You can have like this crazy static scratch thing, and we couldn't get it out of there. That was our opening for like a year before we got a little bigger and started whatever. So, dude, if you've got a mic and you got anything, you can get started. It's been really cool to kind of go through your videos, watch it, watch you get a little more comfortable. As I've watched a little bit, but I can tell that you feel better about it. What's it sort of taught you? Because like you said, you're putting everything on camera, you're having conversations, but you're also having to learn to listen to people a little better, just communicate in general. What do you feel like it's done for you, even from just a development standpoint?
I think it's developed my ability to allow people to feel more comfortable around you and being able to develop relationships and contact people and coordinate with people in order to get them on the show and things like that. And then also in terms of like marketing my brand and being able to promote yourself in a way that people gravitate towards. I think that's a big thing that has taught me as well. But most importantly, it's just understanding people, allowing people to talk, allowing people to tell their own story and then guiding them. Because there's some guests where it's like, they might not be as talkative as other guests, but you got to find a way to like lead them to being able to open up and give those responses that you're looking for and answer the questions that you're looking for. So just being able to deal with people and develop relationships is something that's really improved on.
Did you kind of know going in who you wanted to do it with you? How did, whether it be Rico or whoever, how did it develop on what teammates or who was going to be on air with you?
So initially it was going to be something where it was just me, and then I would bring on different teammates every episode, different people every episode. But then some of my teammates just kept coming back on. Like they really enjoyed it and they kept coming back on. So I was fine with having them on it over and over and over again. But yeah, that's really how it came about. And I plan on having some players from the team on Ole Miss come on the podcast as well. That's the plan for when I get to Oxford.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. You're moving here in a few days. What does this look like? Are you taking it solo? I mean, is the hope just to continue by yourself and then get guests? And what does the next version of this podcast look like?
Yeah, it's probably going to be me taking it solo and then adding having some of my teammates come on as guests and having people in Oxford come on as guests as well. And then maybe if I wanted to do a guest who's a long distance away or remote, I would get on like StreamYard or Zoom or something like that to get them on the show as the brand of the show starts to increase and move past local listeners.
Yeah, of course. We can do. I could. Off air, obviously, but I can give you some ideas on ways to import graphics and stuff onto the screen for Zoom and things like that. If you have guys that aren't local for you there. You mentioned editing. I've been really impressed. A lot of your graphics, a lot of your thumbnails, a lot of different stuff. What got you into that? What was interesting about editing and the different graphic design parts of video for you?
So when I was in high school, I had signed up for this elective class, graphic design, and we were making like magazine covers and posters and things like that. And I had a really good time. It was my first time ever doing that type of work. And then just from then on, when I've been making YouTube videos and stuff like that, I really saw the importance of having a good thumbnail and getting people to click on videos and watch the videos. So I just took the time to learn how to make thumbnails, what people like to see, and then how to implement that. Like the thumbnails take me like an hour to make. People think it's like something that's fast, but it does take a little bit of time to come up with the formatting and how you're going to place things and what elements to use to not make it too muddy, but to also make it look exciting for people to click on.
You've obviously been interested in computers and technology, that kind of thing. Anyway, you got your bachelor's in computer science. You're in some sort of cyber intelligence thing at JMU. I saw there as well. I mean, you don't see that very often. Computer science. What led to that major? What is it about that was interesting to you?
Yeah, it's funny. So everyone thinks I graduated computer science, but I actually graduated with computer information systems.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, JMU just never changed it.
Okay,
But
gotcha.
so yeah, what made me gravitate. So initially, I was doing computer science for my freshman year. So I did freshman year and half of sophomore year, I was in computer science. And that was a lot of coding and stuff like that. And I realized like that's not what I wanted to do, like coding in a dark basement, anything like that. So I changed it up and went to the business route, which is computer information systems, which is part of the business school at James Madison. And that's more of the IT side, the user side of it, where you're taking the technology that computer scientists make, and then you're applying it to humans and how humans would use it and data analytics and things like that. And I just thought that that was way more interesting. With, like I said before, I like interacting with people. I don't like just being secluded by myself working on assignments. And computer information systems was a lot of working in groups, working on teams, and developing things like that way, like applications, user side applications, websites, things like that. So that's why I gravitated towards that.
You obviously didn't know at that point you were going to go into podcast or media
Mm-hmm.
or entrepreneurship or whatever you want to call it that. But in some ways, is that how your brain works? That you thought I can use this in business or in different elements for my life? I mean, was that one of the priorities to switching that major?
Yeah, for sure. I saw the benefits of uh, combining business and technology and getting a degree that combined both of those to utilize in the future. Getting my degree, honestly, I tell everyone like my degree is like my plan C. So like my plan A is the NFL, obviously, and then plan B is like media with like podcasts and all that type of things. And then my plan C is to use my degree in computer information systems and my cyber intelligence certification and all that stuff. But yeah, I definitely thought of that before I chose my major.
What is a cyber intelligence certification?
So JMU has a certificate program where it's a program that can get completed in a year, and it basically just goes into detail about cyber threats, the psychology of cyber threat actors, how to mitigate risks, and for companies and businesses, individuals as well, the different types of cyber attacks and how prevalent they are, and ways to combat them. So it's basically just a course that teaches you the importance of cyber intelligence and ways to battle it and the history of it and things like that.
I know you got a short time at Ole Miss, but what's your study situation look like at Ole Miss? What are you going to take? What are you going to look at?
So right now I'm trying to decide. I would like to get a master's degree. Um, and one program I've been looking at is a sport analytics program that has to do with sports data and business. And I thought that it was kind of in my ballpark, in my field. And it's a program you can get completed in 1 year. So I was thinking of starting that this summer and then going into the fall. And then I would probably have to take a couple classes on. It's online, so I'd probably have to take a couple classes in the spring while I'm training and getting ready for the NFL. So yeah, that's what I was thinking of doing.
You graduated high school, I think 2017. You got 1 year
Hmm.
left. You've been through a lot, obviously, pandemics and knee
Hmm.
injuries, red shirts, and different things. I mean,
Yeah.
you come out of it so seasoned at this point. What has this road sort of taught you? I mean, as you get here toward the end, you got 1 year left. You're playing in the
Hmm.
SEC this fall. What have you learned from this? This not really hasn't been a very linear road at all for you.
I mean, I just learned a lot about um, just how to navigate life when a lot of adversity hits. A lot of the things I've been through, it would be easy for me to just pack it up and like give up on all the things I want to accomplish on the field and then some of the stuff off the field as well. But it just taught me resilience, and it taught me patience as well. That's a big thing. Like you're like when you're younger, you're like go go go. I want to get older. I want to do this. I want to do that. But you just gotta wait, and your time will come. You know, going through. I was at JMU for 4 years before I actually played significant minutes or play or was a starter. And 4 years is some of the time people are out and going to the league, and that's when I'm just
Mm-hmm.
starting. So it's like, you know, that taught me a lot of patience, and it paid off with my ability to play on the field and be successful, and then now find myself being able to play in the SEC. So yeah, just taught me a lot of patience and gratitude for what I have, and not taking anything for granted.
What was the key to sticking to it? Because I mean, a lot of guys would have, even tried a new atmosphere, gone somewhere else, changed, and said, "Hey, this isn't going to be in the cards." I mean, was there a point of time where you even kind of had those internal conversations with yourself, and what made you stick it out there for so long till it worked out for you?
Yeah, when I had my second knee injury, that was a time where I was contemplating, oh yeah, maybe this isn't for me because like my body is telling me that, oh yeah, football isn't in the cards for me. But I think it's ironic because like I felt like all the stuff I had been through meant I had to at least see it through. Like I can't give up on it, you know? So like going through all those injuries and all that made me feel like I had a duty to at least get something out of it. You know, I can't just go through all these injuries because I'm gonna have those injuries
Mhm.
regardless. So like it's something that's gonna be a part of my body. So like I better get something out of it. I better get some type of success out of the situation. So that's really what kept me pushing and keeps me pushing to this day and motivated to get to the NFL.
Obviously the 2020 season was all disjointed and all this stuff with COVID and different things. But when you finally did, I guess in 2021, take off, you hit a different level. Was that simply about health, or what all was involved in your opinion of taking that step?
I think honestly, I think it was simply about health, really, because that was the type of player that I knew, and all my teammates knew that I would have been if I hadn't gotten hurt in 2019 and 2020. So I think it was just a delayed showcase of the talent that I already had and I already was capable of doing on the field.
When did you realize that it was clicking? When did you go, hey, no, this is different?
You mean like in
Oh,
2021 or before that?
yeah, whenever. I mean, 21, even going into 22. When did you realize, no, 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 I can definitely, everything that I thought I was as good at or I could play at this level, it's all right here in front of me and it's happening?
I would say after the first game of the season, 2021. That's when like when I
Mm-hmm.
first got out there, I was like, oh yeah, this is something I can do. I was like, and then in 2022 when we started playing in the Sun Belt, and I noticed like it wasn't that different from the CAA and the FCS, like in terms of my ability to be dominant and be successful. I was like, yeah, I'm really a good player, and I really can do this stuff. So, yeah, I would say the beginning of every season, it was just constant confirmation that I belonged there and I was going to be a great player.
Do you feel it in practice too, or do you kind of need to hit somebody with a different color uniform on to really, let it click?
Yeah, you feel it in practice. Like, I would say in 2019 was when before I got hurt in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I was like, okay, I'm really playing really well. And like during spring ball and then going into fall camp. And then, but you always have that little bit of doubt in your head when it's like, because like when you're talking trash to people in practice and all that, they're like, let's see you do it in a game. That's what everyone always says. Let's see you do it in a game. So even though I was dominating in practice because of my injuries, I had never done it in a game. So in the back of my head, even though I was confident in my abilities, I was like, I got to do this against other teams that I don't know all their tendencies. Because when I'm going against people in practice, I know all the offensive linemen's tendencies and what they like to do. But doing against a different color jersey definitely was even better.
Are you a trash talker?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Is that the norm? I mean, what percentage would you say people out there on the field are trash talkers when what's going on?
Percentage?
Yeah, whatever. I
Honestly,
mean, however you
it's
want to
like
phrase it.
50-50, honestly.
Okay.
Like it's 50-50 chance whether someone's a trash talker or usually it'll be a couple players on the team will be the big trash talkers. Like and you know it like straight from the first play, honestly. It might be like one or two offensive linemen, pretty much all the receivers, and then it'll be like a running back. They'll be
Okay.
the ones that be talking. Usually the quarterbacks are like chill. Um, but yeah, that's usually how it'll go.
So the cliches are right that the receivers and the corners are talking the most.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
All
most
right. I got
definitely. You could just hear. I could just hear it from the corner of my ear all the time. Just receivers talking.
Would you rather go against a guy who's talking it back to you or never says a word, just silent over there?
I'd rather go against a guy who's talking back to me because when they
Okay.
don't say a word, they don't make it, it's no fun. Like when they're not saying anything back, when they say that whole thing about if you don't give him a response, they're gonna stop. That's actually true. If he's not saying nothing back, I'm
Oh,
just gonna be like, I don't really care anymore.
yeah. You mentioned that. I mean, JMU going to the Sun Belt, having a lot of
Mhm.
success. When you first hear of that transition and you know that's coming and you know you're going to be there for that period of time, and what's that like? Because it does allow you to prove yourself at a higher level and face different competition.
Yeah, I know. I had a love-hate relationship with it because I was never able to win the FCS championship, so I was kind of annoyed that we were leaving the FCS. But then on the other hand, excuse me, on the other hand, I was excited about playing against the higher level competition playing in the FBS and being one of those teams who can actually be ranked in the top 25 of the FBS with the big schools and all that. So that aspect of it was definitely exciting. I was expecting it to be a drastic change and like, but it wasn't as drastic as I thought it would be. Honestly, the players we played at the FCS level and the players we played at the FBS level are pretty similar.
What is the biggest difference?
Um, I would say the biggest difference is the consistency of players that you would play. So like at the FCS level, we were playing teams like Villanova, Delaware, North Dakota State, Montana, like those, all those, you would play those teams maybe like 3 times a season, 4 times a season, something like that. But in the FBS level, you're playing them like 8 times a season, like those caliber of teams, like 8 times in a season, 9, 10 times. There's obviously some teams who are still deficient in talent and stuff when you're playing against them, but the majority of the teams have the capability of going in there and beating you every week. So I feel like that's the biggest difference.
Obviously, you guys were really competitive and really good, but was North Dakota State that much better than a lot of teams you played? I mean, we always see it and hear about it. I mean, what was that like?
Yeah, I would say North Dakota State could beat all the teams we played this season. I
Really?
feel like North Dakota State would have played just as good as us in the Sun Belt Conference.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. Because the
Wow.
size they have, the mentality they have, and the winning culture, like that's the thing I think a lot of people don't think of as much. Like that culture of winning, no matter what level you're on, that'll showcase. Some teams you can just feel that they don't really care that much about winning and they don't know how to win, so they'll just lay over. But when you have that culture of winning from no matter what level you're on, that carries over. And I feel like that attributes to your ability to be successful at the next level. And North Dakota State has the most winning culture you'll find in college football. So I feel like that'll translate if they were to move up.
When did the portal first become a thought for you? I mean, when did it kind of hit that may be something you wanted to do?
Honestly, it became a thought for me when one of my teammates, Tuck, hopped in the portal. Actually, honestly, it's when Antoine hopped in the portal. One of my teammates he hopped in the portal, went to South Carolina last year, and then I started looking into it and thinking about it. I decided not to hop in the portal that year because I felt like it would be better. I had only played 1 year up to that point. I thought playing at
Mm-hmm.
JMU for another year would be a better use of my season. But then when I decided to come back to college in January, that's when I thought about it. My mind wasn't really set on going into it at all yet. I wanted to go through the spring and see how I felt afterwards. And then when I decided to hop into it, I definitely asked for like help from my other teammates who've done it in the past and see how it went out for them, how things happened, and what they thought of the situation and how to navigate some of the recruiting from the schools and stuff because it was definitely very hectic when I first hopped in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really grateful for having those people there to support me and stuff like that. But yeah, it was. I feel like when it became that thing with COVID where you could transfer and play right away, I feel like that's when it got on my radar. But I didn't really think about actually doing it. I would say until this past semester.
What was it about the spring that put you for sure over the top to go that way?
Um, I just felt like I had been at JMU long enough. I felt like it was it was a time for me to move up a level. That's why I was really keen on going. Like I only visited SEC schools. Like I wasn't keen. I wasn't gonna leave JMU to go to another Group of Five school. Like that didn't make
Mm-hmm.
any sense to me, especially with the success I've had at JMU. The guarantee of being a starter and being the guy at JMU. I felt like the only way I would take that risk is if it's a noticeable move up in competition and something that would boost my stock in the draft. And I didn't know I would have any offers from these big schools, but I felt like based on my talent, being first team on conference and all that stuff, that's something that would be a possibility. So that's when I was just like, yeah, let me just take the risk and hop in.
So what happens these first 48 hours? I mean, you get in the portal, does your phone just start ringing? I mean, you don't know who these people are. You don't know area codes. I mean, take me through this. What the heck does this look like?
Yeah, so the moment I officially got put in the portal, I got the little email that said you're in the transfer portal. About like I would say like 30 minutes later, I started getting people following me on Instagram. I mean on Twitter. A bunch of people follow me on Twitter, different coaches. D-line coach here, outside linebacker coach here, D-line coach here, D-line coach here. And I was getting DMs, people asking me to send them my phone number and stuff like that. So I was sending out my phone number. And then some people were just texting me without getting my phone number, all different area codes. Hey, this is Coach so-and-so from so-and-so. Hey, this is defensive coordinator from so-and-so. This one. So
Yeah.
my phone was just ringing nonstop from like 10 in the morning all the way to like 10 at night. Some coaches went past 10 at night. They were still texting me. But yeah, it was like that for the first day, 2 days actually, for the first 2 days. Constant phone ringing, constant phone calls. I didn't have any time to even really talk to my parents because it was just one coach, another coach, another coach, another coach. Everyone asking you to come visit. Everyone saying this, trying to sell you on this and this. It was just honestly, it was way too much.
So how do you sort it? I mean, what do you do to get that to a manageable number? I mean, is it about, naming schools? I mean, you take like, what do you do? I mean, how do you make a coach stop calling, if you will?
So my high school coach always told me like to never disrespect anyone, never take any opportunity for granted. So um, I fielded all the calls. Like I spoke to everyone who reached out to me. I texted everyone who reached out to me. And then I just took whatever they said and the research I could do, quick research on the school and their depth chart. And I used that to decide whether or not I would invest any more time into it. I would say I did that towards the end of the second day after I had some time to chill out and actually assess. And then quickly, like I said, the SEC schools were something that rose to the top because of their caliber and then also their need. Like it was a unique situation to have that many SEC schools that needed a position like that and lost so much at the position this past offseason. So that was why I leaned towards them.
Yeah, take me to the Ole Miss part of that. I mean, you hear from, I guess, Golding or Joyner or whoever, and then
Yeah.
when does that happen? And at that point, I mean, what do you know about Ole Miss when you first get contact?
So Ole Miss hit me up the first day. They were one of the first schools to contact me. It was Coach Joyner. I spoke with him on the phone, and I didn't know much about Ole Miss. I knew that they were good because of I remember the season with Matt Corral. Like I remember when he got drafted.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that. I knew they were in the SEC. I knew they were in Mississippi, obviously, and I knew
Yeah.
about Coach Kiffin being really popular in the college football world. That's pretty much all I knew about Ole Miss. Um, I started doing research and I saw the stuff about like Tavius Robinson getting drafted, and I know DK Metcalf went there, AJ Brown went there, stuff like that. That's all I really knew about Ole Miss. But oh, and I knew about the powder blue, the jerseys. Like I knew that
Oh,
was
okay.
yeah, that
Gotcha.
was fire. Like I like the jersey. But yeah, that's pretty much all I knew. But then when I heard Coach Joyner tell me about the need and what situation they were in, and then I talked to Coach Golding, and he was very convincing as well. That's when they sort of rose towards the top of the schools I wanted to visit.
Do you make lists? Are you a spreadsheet guy? I mean, how do you sort of keep all this stuff in your head sorted out when you're looking at Auburn, Missouri, Ole Miss, and whoever else was in it kind of late?
Yeah, I definitely made a spreadsheet. I did a
Okay.
spreadsheet. I listed out the schools and I listed out my important criteria, and then I ranked them on each of those. So it was really Missouri, Auburn, and Ole Miss. That were my final three. So I ranked them 1 to 3 on each of those based on what I thought, and then I just used that to make the decision on what school I thought was best for me. And the number one decision was football. So and Ole Miss had that covered. So that was how I went about making the decision and narrowing it down to what school I wanted to go
Did anything else even matter?
to. um,
I mean, Oxford's a good place, but do you care about towns and things like that? I mean, I know you got to live here for a year, but I mean,
yeah,
how do you sort of manage the other parts of this decision?
yeah, I know that's hard because it's um, you gotta try and make the main thing, which is the football. But obviously, there's outside factors that come into play and it may influence you, like connections and obviously the money part and the
Mm-hmm.
location of the school and all that. All the schools were far from home, so that wasn't really a big deal for me. I feel like I can be anywhere for like 7 months for a season. Like I wasn't gonna be living there for the rest of my life, so that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't as big of a deal. I did like Oxford. I liked Auburn, and I liked Columbia, Missouri. Like I liked all three of the places. But yeah, I just try to make football the main thing. Where did I think I could go in and play football, excel, and get myself to the next level?
Obviously, you've been around long enough that you didn't see this early in your career. It wouldn't have been a factor had you transfer. How do you even balance NIL in these decisions? I mean, how do you factor that in?
Um, I feel like the way I did it was I just got what everyone would offer in
Mm-hmm.
NIL. And obviously it played a role, but it wasn't like one of the main roles. I just felt like all the money was relatively the same from all three schools. So it wasn't
Sure.
really anything that would make me choose sway one way or sway the other way and all that stuff. So I just took it as something that obviously was important. It was something that's cool to get, being a college athlete. When I first came in,
Yeah.
you wasn't getting no money at all. So it's definitely something that was cool to get, but it wasn't something that I let drive what decision I made. So like it was really just the football mostly.
Like you said, obviously a great thing for players, all that stuff. But is it a little weird? I mean, is
Yeah.
it normal in your head or what?
Nah, it's not normal in my head, yeah, at all. 'Cause, schools are asking you like, oh, how much do you think you're worth and all that? I'm like, man, I don't, I have no idea. Like, because a lot of I was saying earlier, a lot of players don't know what other people are getting in terms of money. So it's like, I don't even know where to gauge. Like, if you're in the NFL, you know what someone else got in the contract. You know what this person got. You know how you compare to that person, and you can go from there. But in college football, no one really talks about how much money they make, or what they're able to get for their services. So I really went in kind of blind to what I would be able to get.
Is there anything about Ole Miss's scheme or what they want to do with you defensively that stood out? I mean, what's kind of the role here?
Yeah, the scheme, the way that Coach Golding ran defense at Alabama, playing with the two edge players, Will Anderson, Dallas Turner, these past couple of seasons, I would be playing in that sort of situation, the jack linebacker position. And that really stuck out to me because I thought it would be some place to showcase my versatility. I've been playing in a four down front my entire career, so being able to be put in the three, a multiple front, 3-4 front, whatever you want to call it, I thought that would be something that would be really good to showcase to scouts and to the NFL.
What's the next step for your game? I mean, I don't necessarily a technical answer or whatever you want to give,
Yeah.
but I mean, you're coming to the SEC. You got 1 year left to put everything on tape. What do you got to get better at? Where do you sort of feel like you are right now?
I feel like the next step is just to show consistency at a higher level. Being able to dominate the way I did in the lower levels at the SEC, in the SEC, and to be able to showcase. I need to improve on my lateral quickness, my counter moves, things of that nature. Everyone knows that I can do power rushes and all that stuff. I want to show more finesse aspects to my game and my quickness and twitchiness, and I think that's something I'm gonna work on all summer, and utilize that, and showcase that in my film. Just show an arsenal of moves and versatility in my film. I feel like that's the biggest thing I need to showcase this year.
Do you stop the podcast during the season?
I did
No.
last season. But part of that was because one of my friends had transferred to Texas, and he was someone who I was doing the podcast with a lot.
Uh,
And I just never got back to it. But I don't think I'm gonna stop it this season. I think I'm gonna keep it going this season, sort of like how Draymond Green does his podcast. Like he'd come right after a game and talk. I was thinking of doing something to that degree after games this season. So yeah, I'm gonna keep it going during the season.
you an NBA guy?
Yeah.
Who's your team?
Unfortunately, it's the Suns. I go wherever Kevin Durant goes,
Oh, do you
and
really?
yeah, but the Nuggets got us. So I'm rooting for the Heat now to because I like Jimmy Butler, and I like what he's been able to do with the 8 seed and bring them to the conference finals and most likely to the finals. So I'm rooting for the Heat.
What do you like about KD?
I just like how efficient he is and how smooth he is on the court. And when I first started watching basketball was when OKC was like really good with him and Russ and James Harden. So I
Mm-hmm.
just gravitated towards them because they were young guys and they were beating a lot of the older players like the Grizzlies and the Lakers and all that. So the Spurs. So I was just gravitating towards Kevin Durant, and then I just stuck with it from then on.
Who's your NFL team?
Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, Yeah, I was playing Madden. I think it was Madden '05, so I was like 6 years old. And I hit random, and it landed on the Jaguars, and they just been my favorite team since then. So I just been riding with them through David Garrard, Blaine Gabbert, all them, Blake Bortles. Yeah, so I just been riding with them ever since.
Hey, you're on the come up though. It's all good. I mean,
Yeah, Trevor
last year
Lawrence.
put y'all
Yeah.
in the right spot.
For
So
sure.
you were all in on Trevor Lawrence then when they took him a few years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Based on what he
yeah.
was doing at Clemson, yeah, for sure.
Any obviously, I mean, not like you've been up north your whole life or anything, but any deep south food you're interested in as you get down here and start eating around a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna just try a bunch of things. I like barbecue.
Okay.
I love steak, pulled pork. Yeah, I don't really got nothing in specific, but I just looking forward to trying all the food y'all got down there and getting integrated into the Southern culture.
You a fried catfish guy? Or if you had it
I've
in
never
the
had
right in
it.
the right place? All
I've
right, we
never
hook
had
you up
fried
then.
catfish before.
All right, yeah. We put that on the list then. There you go.
Yeah, for sure.
There's the start. Well, but I really appreciate it. Again, hope the podcast goes well. Hope really enjoyed everything I've seen from that so far, and I appreciate the time today. And let's do it again as you get here. Be safe moving this week.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me.